Well, hello there, Justin, with a back-to-back crossover minute to the point where I'm wearing the same attire, same moment as the previous recording. Something else very big on my heart. And you'll have to excuse me because I'm still, over the last several recordings, just very informal in my interaction or, like this, ums and hand gestures and maybe clearing my throat, changing my posture, things like just never mind me, please. I haven't gotten back to formal presentation yet. Perhaps I will one day soon. But this one, oh man. I want to talk about the displaced good man. Someone who's not really, maybe you could say, living in no man's land, but perhaps living in no other man's land. Meaning they are truly living there. There is a man living there, and there's no one else around. That's the feeling, sometimes the real perception of so many men that are off the radar. And I want to take time to explain this. Perhaps a lot of this has to do with companionship with females. But it's not just limited to that. It also has to do with friendship and camaraderie, going deeper with other men in healthy, godly ways, doing life together, having real friendship, real fellowship, and brotherhood. There's definitely been several churches, including ones I've been a part of in recent years, that are wanting to build quote-unquote community. And that's a buzzword in recent years, really across the Western church, building community and connection, and it's the understanding behind it is proper, but it becomes, I don't want to say cliche-ish, even though that can happen, but it still, even in itself, can be either become or be carried out, not want to say casually, but very surface, and not really, maybe not taking enough time to mentor or explain how what it is to really go deeper, and what it would mean for what it would cost for people to do that, and what we would have to adjust in our lives and our lifestyles and our mentalities, and just the rush of how society is these days. And we're just staying afloat in the boat, so to speak. And where are the times we have to veer off and go to the shore and get out of that rush, and pause and take more time with each other, and especially amidst our busyness and all the responsibilities we have. So here's the nuance that I want to bring out. Particularly, especially single men that are beyond college age and early mid-20s, beyond that earlier phase of life where they're still just getting into stuff and just getting out of school and just, immersing into jobs, careers, or whatever, some may be ministries and other things and stuff. But people that have either been single all their life, or maybe been through a divorce and or major relationship that was going to lead to marriage and it got broken up or whatever, and they find themselves in their 30s, 40s, maybe early 50s or so, and mid to late 30s, 40s, early to mid 50s or so, and it's a strange segment or demographic of our society. And I'm especially particularly talking about men that are good. And what do I mean by good? I don't mean, they're a good person per se, I mean someone who has, is really genuinely seeking God and has allowed God to work in their heart and lives and help them to become just a better person, and they're good to people. They're good to women. They're good to men. They're good to, just family, friend. They do well with the way, and by and large, I'm not saying everybody's perfect, of course, but I'm just saying that they are a safe person. They're trustworthy. They have good values and morals. They have a tender conscience. And they have an actual verifiable walk with God, in as much as wherever they are in their journey, they are truly seeking, to go deeper with God, or to surrender, and just to do well with Him and by people, right? Faithful, they're honest, they're loyal to the right things, and the way I'm describing this type of man that actually exists. I'm sure there's many women, including some that I know, that would say, or that have told me in community or just personally, it's impossible to find a man like that. And I understand that. I understand that more than you know. But they are out there, and the thing about it is that it's like they're probably speckled all throughout any given community and locality and state and all across, if we're talking about America in the country. And so there's so many, of the rest, that aren't so good, or that are just out and out bad, or just very just selfish or immature and things like that, that we see so much of that, and it's almost impossible to spot the good ones, or that maybe they're just hidden in circumstance, and it's hard to find those type of people outside of certain types of circles or communities that tend to attract or draw more people like that in those places. And just a heads up on that, that is a key right there, for people who are very different in the fact that they really are genuinely seeking God, or want to live more of a selfless life, or this or that, have certain values and stuff. One way to be around more people that are like-minded is to find the types of events, activities, or groups, or things that usually would draw that type of person, like, for example, if there's a place that has early Saturday morning volunteering, serving people who are homeless or this or that, or doing something very selfless or whatever, the vast majority, even a lot of really good people, are, it's a little too early. But the people that do show up to that, there's going to be a good chance you're gonna come across some pretty quality people. It doesn't mean that people that don't do that aren't good quality. I'm just saying, there's very good reasons not to be available for that or whatever, that for great, wonderful people. But I'm just saying that the ones that are willing and able and capable of getting out there at a time like that, I'm just throwing a very arbitrary example, just giving your mind some ideas, just what are the different ways to come across people who have a heart the way I'm trying to be, and what I'm looking to surround myself with, that type of thing. Doesn't have to be a volunteer activity. I just threw that out there as an example. Could be groups, activities, could be, I don't know. I don't have time. I'm not going to take the time to get into all that. But let me get back to my point though. Apart from those types of things, it really can be hard to spot good men, and for good men to find other good men to spend time with, become actual friends with, not just, we go to church together, or we have the same group, or we work together. I'm talking about like where you just do things as friends, you hang out and have a fun time as well. And maybe pray together sometimes, or just, more, again, not just surface and not just an activity in common base. And so, and as well as companionship with female, not just females that we know and respect, and they respect us, and we have good rapport with them publicly whenever we come across them, here and there, but going deep with people, and having meaningful relationships beneath the surface. I know of a lot of men, not very many of them in any one single place, unfortunately, but across the country, a few in my old hometown, some more than a few, that are just really good men that are single. And the thing about it, the thing that makes it difficult for these men that are living in no other's man land, when it comes to connecting with other men that are like-minded or have a good head on their shoulders and stuff like that, a lot of them are married, honestly. A lot of them are just not available. Marriage is very, it's a different life. It's a whole different track, even if you don't have kids yet. It just is a totally different track, and that's great. But it's, again, this nuance to this hard to find minority demographic of men in this particular age range, especially that, married men are just more occupied and more preoccupied, and not always as apt to build a new relationship with someone they're not already friends with, and especially not having as much time as the single man does to foster that growth and stuff. So that's one thing that oftentimes these guys are dealing with. Another thing would be when it comes to women, well, there's multifaceted, to say the least. Women, and obviously we're not talking about married, we're talking about singles here. Women that are single in that age range, early to mid 30s, throughout their 40s, maybe even, they oftentimes, in my observation and in some of the friends' observation that I've talked to, female and male, many females about this, confirming this, at least in our limited experience. This is just on one level, perhaps a little bit anecdotal, but it would be interesting to know how it relates to what your observation has been. So I'm just putting it out there from our limited observation. I'm not making generalization or saying this is just how it is, but from mine and from every single, let's put it this way, every single woman that I've ever had this conversation with in a group or one-on-one has confirmed this. And so I see that it's not just men thinking this is a perception, but women saying, yes, that's a really good accurate. That oftentimes women who are single in this age range have gone through one or more either traumatic breakups or divorce. And being single as an older person than when we're young, as a teenager or early 20s, it's so different. Because just in general, man or woman, you got a job or career, maybe some are in ministry, got a house, some, if not many, may have kids. I mean, we got very heavy, weighty responsibilities that we are accountable to that is just not like being single when you're younger, period. And on top of that, we've been through traumatic hurt to the heart and soul that many people may not have even gotten over yet, may not have even know how to work through those things with Jesus as counselor and with God as truly their healer of their heart and soul and restorer of their soul, and to work through the open heart surgeries that are necessary to heal those areas in God's presence, and taking the time in worship and seeking God and working through and sitting in His presence and working back through those hurts and those memories so that they can be washed and bathed in oil and grace and mended and healed, and that the harmful and negative and hurtful emotions attached to those memories can be washed and gently soothed and bathed with new healthy emotions based in grace and love and healing and reconciliation. In other words, putting that person in God's care and hands and trusting them with it and being able to walk away from it, but with healing in the heart in that area and not a negativity or baggage or bitterness. Now, and also recognizing that sometimes you have to go to that same place again and again, just like certain trauma to the physical body may require repeat surgeries and several follow-up visits for rehab and for therapy before that person is really released from all that type of care. And that's normal. That's to be expected. It is not abnormal, even if it takes several months or a handful of years or so. It is normal. And then even a handful of years later, to have to face something, a mild or medium-sized trigger of something that you unexpected, a blindside that's like, oh, I thought that was, no, that's okay. That's normal. It's the same thing as the physical body and the recovery of the physical body as it is the heart and soul. But there's a lot of people, what I just said right there may have been a huge revelation that didn't even realize, off the radar, totally not even realizing how to get true heart healing and do your heart work, as well as just growing in relational maturity and having healthy boundaries and filters, not walls, as we've talked about in a handful of other of these videos, not walls around the heart, not Fort Knoxed, not bricked up and walled off at the doors and gates. No, having healthy boundaries and filters at the gates of the heart, watching over what gets allowed in and what comes out as an appropriate watchman and gatekeeper, but not blocking, not just completely shutting down. But see, that is one thing that happens is these types of things, well, they make us gun shy. We say, well, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to actually develop a relationship, and then to wait and see, is the same thing gonna happen again or not, or can I even trust my own judgment? I can't even trust men or women or whatever we're talking about, and I don't want to go through. I'd rather just be single instead of going through that again, potentially, possibly, or And plus, now I got all these other responsibilities that are serious, and how's that going to weave in? I don't have time to this little. We remember dating as a teen or early 20s, and it feels kiddish, And we're a serious adult, maybe in a serious responsibilities and roles and this and that, and have kid, and we're like, I don't have time to be a little kid again, and have, it's different being single again after what we've gone through. And so what that means is even the single women that would be in the appropriate age range of these men, they're not really as available. They're about as unavailable as the married one because of these situations. And there are exceptions to this because I know of several, and I know of different healthy communities that foster this type of healing and restoration for people who really deep inside, they're admitting deep inside, yes, I do want to love again, trust again, I do want to be married, I do want to this or that. I just need to know how to go about it healthy and safe so I don't fall in the same pitfalls and traps and issues that I went through in the past, and what can I also do to hold myself accountable for allowing these things or just having poor judgment or decision making or so forth, so on, ABC, XYZ, But the reality is that there's a lot of people that they're not aware of those communities, not even aware of half the stuff we're even talking about right now. And they just are in a place where they're managing, they're surviving, and they have gotten through, and now they're staying afloat, and they're making things work, and they're carrying it themselves, and they're, co-parenting with themselves if they have kids, and they're crying out to God. They're wore out. They're exhausted, but yet they're championing their efforts to survive by themselves, and not needing a man or not needing a woman or those type of things, And the reality is, we're almost celebrating we're celebrating fractures and things that that are still not the way God has intended. He wants us whole. And if we're going to be single, he wants us to be whole in that singlehood, not fractured and broken and scrapping. Now, that being said, there's always grace at every single stage and step of where we are in our journey, in our process of healing, or if we're stuck or stagnant in a certain stage. So by all means, I'm thanking God for the grace, and I actually am, on one level, applauding those survivors that have gotten through. And that, but the thing that tapped my heart on the shoulder some time back was when I was stuck at one of those stages for too long, almost to where I had accepted it as my setting, as my norm, as my reality, as my life, as my lot. And God was saying, Justin, you're only part of the way to your in your healing process. Why are you stopping? And because I personally, this may not be the case for some others, but I personally was also, it was almost like a subconscious pity party that I was accepting and embracing for myself, and in some ways sharing with others, and maybe they would kind of join in with that a little bit in their response and that type of thing, instead of just saying no, this is not going to define me. This is not going to be where I stop and just stay. I'm not going halfway. I'm going to continue just like I started and walked away from this toxic thing, or that, or the other, and began a healing journey. I'm going to continue a healing journey. I'm going to continue to grow in trust, to put the guards down and put the filters up. I'm going to continue to learn how to be selfless, and learn how to be more discerning, but not to a point of cynicism, and not in a negative sense, but in more of a positive, patient sense. And that type of thing, just like I remember Abraham, he was called out from where they were, and there was a place midway to where God had called Abraham to, called Haran, I believe it was, and they stopped there, and his parents, or his dad, they stayed there, and Abraham kept going. He's like, I'm not staying halfway. And Haran actually, I believe, in Hebrew means halfway. But it was the halfway point between from where they were called out of, and God had called them to seek out a place. In other place in the Bible is called, whose maker and builder was God. That's the city Abraham was looking for and sojourning for. And Haran wasn't it. Halfway was not it. And he didn't settle for halfway. He kept going. And just by principle, it's so easy to settle and stop halfway through our process, or halfway through our journey, and just plateau and just sit back and give up on, and just say, well, this is, I'm just gonna, And deep inside, we know something is calling us to go forth. This is not it. This is not all there is. I'm not saying that everything's going to happen tomorrow for us, but what I am saying is that there's a continual change and growth and seeking and surrender and healing and restoration and accountability and repentance. There's a continued sanctification process. There's a continued work. There's a continued journey and vision for us that is beyond where we're at. No matter how far we've come, and no matter how comfortable we are. Haran was comfortable. It wasn't necessarily a bad place per se, in the sense of it was that it was excessively tormentous or anything like that. But the point is that we just give up. And I understand we get tired. I understand we're exhausted at a certain point. We especially incidentally in that age range, in our 30s and 40s, our body starts reaching some thresholds with what it's been through, how it's been conditioned, what it's been fed, what's been done to it, and it starts talking back to us, saying, "Okay, I'm starting to hold you accountable for what you did to me. You're going to start experiencing some things, So I understand that, but remember, this journey is not a laborious journey. When we come to him, those who are burdened and heavy laden, the Bible says he gives us rest, and he says, take my yoke upon you, for it is easy and light. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. He said, take my yoke upon you, and you'll find rest for your soul, for I'm gentle and lowly in heart. He's so tender and gentle with us. In this exchange of our heavy burden for his light burden, which actually is uplifting, when we're carrying his heart and his burden, his desire, his vision. And so this good man, which may be also in this similar place himself, and not just seeing that women are in this place, it's very paradoxical, because he doesn't want to be there. Men probably, again, my limited anecdotal observation experience, we are much less satisfied with this place of, than women are. And I think in part that says something about how much more we need women than we've ever been willing to admit. And when I say need, I mean just that companionship. Just that. Now, I'm not saying women don't need male companionship as well or as equally or whatever. But I'm just saying that we, in our pride and in our past, we've been more, again, selfish, self-serving, and using women to our advantage and our immaturity, and only letting them get in where they fit into our little self-centered kingdom within our heart and that type of thing. And while all along we needed that companionship, we needed what a woman brought to the table to work in our heart and lives, and we should have handled those situations and those relationships so much better and so much more honorably and respectfully on so many levels. And then we're at a place when we don't have, and we're in this place where there's no one else around, and we're like, we're not nearly as, we don't, again, I know I'm sounding general, but just in my limited experience, we're just not as good at handling that. We don't have as much, I believe at least, as much internal resilience and wherewithal just naturally, as women do in this same circumstance. And women are amazing in that regard. Just all the different things they manage to deal with, carry, and all the junk they deal with from men in the process. And this is such a poor overgeneralization, so please, again, just bear with me. Maybe I'm just saying this particularly to the women that this applies to or whatever, but and not all women or what, because there's always exceptions. There's this, there's that, but again, just from what I've seen over the years, so many countless sisters of mine in the Lord and in the natural just have gone through so much, and I see how they are and how they are today, and I'm amazed. And it seems like, I could be very much wrong, but it just seems like us guys, we would have broke under half of that stuff long time ago, halfway through it. We've been crushed by it. I don't know. And I don't know if that's also in part because we're just, sometimes we're just lazy or we're just give up. I don't know what it is. All I know is that us guys, any of the guys I've ever talked to in No Other Man's Land, we don't like it. It is not where we want to be. We are not satisfied with being in that place, and we long for community, true community. We long for true, deep companionship and friendship, and it's something that we feel like is just supposed to be, and not necessarily just that was supposed to be for us, but it's supposed to be just in general. It's not supposed to be like this, this island living and this, Lone Ranger like way that seemed cool when we were young, like we were independent, we don't need nobody, we can do everything. No, it's a very inaccurate statement, very inaccurate to say the least. It may be cool in the theaters, it may look pretty cool and awesome to see it done really well in the cinema or on a TV series and all that and stuff like that, but that is not reality at all, not one bit. So these guys, maybe you know some, or maybe you are one of these guys. It's interesting because I was a part of a large group call recently, and this was actually in some way brought out from one of the guys on the call, and we were talking. The group call was about relationships and about just different things, and this became one of the topics it just tugged in my heart because I was going to do this message anyway, and just to hear more people again, and most of those people I didn't even know on the call, but they were talking about this, just tugged in my heart. So I want I want to just briefly pray, but I want this message to just be dignifying these guys, wherever you are, whoever you are, and to just bring an awareness to something that is usually either off the radar or not even thought of or talked about, that type of thing, with some limited exception. And I just want to say, I hear you. You are heard by me and by other people and by people perhaps listening to this. You are heard, and I pray that this will stir people's awareness and alertness to pray for you. And that when someone prays for somebody they know or maybe don't know that's in this type of setting, that it will be a point of contact and intercession for you that no one may be praying for otherwise, but you are still getting prayed for, and you are still being thought of, and your life and your experiences. And, I could easily do a whole nother video, and probably in some ways I have, when it comes to women. And their, I don't mean to make this particular message one-sided. I just wanted to take a moment to highlight good men that feel displaced and feel they don't have a home or connection or real deep, veins of community and fellowship and relationship and healthy intimacy and that type of thing. So I want to pray that, Father, that you will see the hearts. Just look upon the hearts of every man that this pertains to, and with such compassion, and that you would reach your hand in to the most vulnerable places of their heart and soul and comfort them and fill them with your love and your presence, and backfill them from in areas that should be full with certain things, healthy, right, appropriate things, but are not, either empty or been ripped away, and that there would be a comfort and a healing and a backfill of grace and love by the power of the Holy Spirit, and that you would bring them into somehow, however that would be, into healthy communities, connections with people, individuals, groups, and that they would be able to find places and people to do life with, and according to your will, however you are willing, healthy companionship as well. And I just thank you for it, Father. And for those men who aren't in healthy places, they may be single, but they aren't in a healthy way in their walk, in their journey, or the way they are with people or with women, or the way they've been, would you please bring them to places of surrender, that they would long for and crave healthy relationships, and not just for themselves, not just to have something healthy for them, but to be healthy and to be well, and to be a blessing, to invest healthily in people's hearts and lives, friends and companions, and that they would see that running through life just only focused on self and feeding self and gratifying self is just such an empty, shallow, worthless, just so undesirous way of living, that it is so unfulfilling, and that it's not just about quote unquote being fulfilled, but it's about finding purpose in life. What are we really here for? And then giving ourselves to it, not to receive, but to give. We get to give, not giving so that they can receive something, but giving because they get to do it, and because you're worthy, Father, and because the people in their lives need what they have. We're made for this, Father. And especially that women would see more and more men that are truly godly, that truly have surrender in their heart, in their sights, in their vision, that they are pursuing their path and place at the foot of the cross, and then to live and operate from that place in their relationships and connection and engaging with women as well as with the brethren, with anybody out there, with anyone. Father, please do a supernatural work in their hearts, especially in these last days where we more than ever in our society need men to stand up for what is right. In the name of Jesus, let it be so. Until next time, this has been a Crossover Minute with Justin.